All right, next we have, excuse me, the Robert Walker Award, which is given annually to an alum whose sustained commitment to the Academy is consistent with the vision of Mr. Robert E. Walker. Mr. Walker was a revered leader of the Academy's Alumni office in the 1960s and 1970s. And he was so respected for his work cultivating relationships between Shady Side and our alumni that in 1969, the Alumni Council created an Alumnus of the Year award in his name. The Walker Award is usually given to a trustee, but sometimes it has gone to a class agent, a volunteer, or a parent. It is always someone who is respected by his or her classmates and the entire Shady Side Academy community. Louder, I'm being told. Okay. And this year's awardees are no exception. I am very pleased to present this year's Walker Award to two trustees, Mr. Jeff McDaniel, class of 1988, and Mr. Rob Mullin, class of 1993. It is only fitting that both of them have reunions this year, in the same year that they have rendered extraordinary service to the Academy. Let me tell you now a little bit about each of these men. Where are you? Come over. I mean, this is good. They are not twins. I'm going to start with Jeff McDaniel because he has seniority, class of 1988. Jeff is an executive in residence at Innovation Works, Incorporated. Innovation Works invests capital, business expertise, and other resources into high-potential companies with the greatest likelihood for regional economic impact in the Pittsburgh region. It is the single largest investor in seed stage companies in this region and is one of the most active seed stage investors in the United States. He also serves on the board of directors of the nonprofit Manchester Bidwell Corporation, FAME, the Green Building Alliance, and the boards of several local technology companies as a part of his role at Innovation Works. A Shady Side Academy lifer, class of 1988, Jeff received his BS from the United States Naval Academy and his JD from the University of Pittsburgh Law School. He is currently a member of our Board of Trustees, and he serves as chair for the Community Life Committee. He also serves on the Executive Committee and the Development Committee. Jeff and his wife, Julie Getz, have two children, Noah, class of 16, and Charlotte, who I know is here, class of 21. Okay. She's there, back there. There they are. Second, we have Rob Mullin, who was the junior member of this trio, this duo trio, class of 1993. Rob Mullin is the founder and managing member of Penrose Advisors. His firm focuses on providing mezzanine and preferred equity capital to mid-sized commercial real estate developments. That's a mouthful. I have no idea what it means. Me neither. Before forming Penrose, Rob spent 15 years working in the investment management industry in analytic and portfolio management roles. During that time, he spent 2 years with Brown Brothers Harriman and Jeffries and Company, and 13 years with the Bass Brothers, Highbridge Capital Management, Duquesne Capital Management, and Millennium Management. Outside the investing arena, Rob worked for EQT Corporation as an assistant treasurer and at American Natural as an EVP and director of business development. Rob is a graduate of Shady Side Academy's class of 1993, who earned a BS in accounting and finance from Washington and Lee University and holds an MBA from the Tepper School of Business at Carnegie Mellon University. Rob is currently a member of our Board of Trustees, and he serves as chair of the Finance Committee and treasurer. He also serves on the Executive Committee, the Development Committee, the Endowment Committee, and is co-chair of the campaign for Shady Side. Rob and his wife, Brooke, are proud parents of Abigail, 26, and Sean, 30. That's just kind of hard to wrap my brain around. Let me finally say that the icing on the cake for these two gentlemen is that they were co-chairs of the highly successful Presidential Search Committee this last year, which brought us Bart Griffith for our next president. I know our board chair, John Kamen, would like to say a few words about that before we hand the podium over to Jeff and Rob. John.
Good evening. First of all, let me just welcome everybody home. It is terrific to see everybody, and it's particularly special for me that we're having this evening in the Keith Ellis Commons in the McElroy Center. Keith Ellis was class of '74, also a Walker Award winner, and he would be thrilled that we were here in his memory enjoying this great night. Also, before I talk about my friends over here, I did want to say a special thank you to Amy Nixon, and she deserves a round of applause. Amy is a wonderful lady. She has been unbelievable in her role in helping us during this year, and she is so thoughtful, so kind, and so hardworking. It's really incredible. So thank you again, Amy, for everything you do. So, as Amy said, I'm chair of the Board of Trustees, and I want to break a little bit of my introduction and talk just a little bit about both of these gentlemen behind me. I first met Jeff McDaniel. We were trying to figure it out in 1976. I promised him that I would not go year by year with our relationship together. He was in my older brother's class and was often at the Kamen House, hanging out and enjoying the company of that little annoying brother of Josh, which I am. Jeff has been a wonderful Shady Sider, a wonderful father, a wonderful parent, and a wonderful trustee to this academy. One of the joys of doing this job, and people ask me, how do you have time and why would you possibly do it? It's because of our ability to engage with people like Rob and people like Jeff who care so much about this place and our shared experience and also our shared future. As co-chair of the search committee, I'll tell you one quick story about that. At the board meeting, Mike Hannon, when we were talking about the search, opened it up for trustees to volunteer to be on the search committee. Jeff reached out to me and said, I'd like to get involved. I talked to Rob quickly, and we thought it would be funny that we'd call Jeff back and tell him, not only do you get to be involved, you're also the chair. And it turned out to be a wonderful decision for the Board of Trustees, wonderful decision for me, and a wonderful decision for Shady Side. So Jeffrey, for all that you do and all that you have done and all you will do, we're deeply indebted. So a round for Jeffrey. So my engagement with Rob has not been quite as long as 30 years, 40 years, but it's been very passionate, as Rob said. True. Rob and I first met during his service on the board, and Rob has been incredibly devoted to this institution. He has helped us significantly with finances. When we needed a co-chair for the development, we went right to Rob, and he gives of his time, treasure, and mind like nobody else. So when we were discussing the Walker Award, it seemed fitting that we would break almost a 50-year tradition and go ahead and award it to these two wonderful alums, wonderful trustees, and wonderful human beings. So I just wanted to say on behalf of the Board of Trustees, it is my honor not only to be your chair, but to be here tonight to introduce you to such great people. So, round of applause. Without further ado, let me introduce you to the old man here, Jeffrey McDaniel.
Thank you, John. You may quickly live to regret giving me the microphone. This is just the first half. I think I have a little bit more. What's that watch mean, Jeff? I don't know. Okay. Oh, right. Okay. I don't even know where to start. I'm going to actually start with thanking all of you for inspiring me. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my life through some reflections. And I promise it will be slightly long, but it'll be shorter than Rob's, I'm sure. So as you all know, we completed a quite energetic and hectic search for our new president, and we're all thrilled. This process started more than 6 months ago. And Amy, you were correct in describing it as a trio because at first it was John and then Rob and myself, and then included was the search committee and then the full board. And the last 2 weeks have been extremely energetic. The first week, when we had a storm that we had to weather, and this week that we're just about to culminate here, homecoming week, was energetic, but in a very good way. And as Amy also mentioned, we had Bart Griffith and his wife Danica here, and that was wonderful to get an opportunity to begin to welcome them back home. So it's been a whirlwind, to be more precise, and it was exactly a week ago today, almost to the minute, when John, Rob, and I, along with our entire search committee, finally exhaled and gave ourselves the first chance to truly consider what the future of Shady Side will hold. Last Friday also, some of you were sitting in the stadium stands down the hill, wondering if the approaching storm was going to reach the field and the stands before halftime. Fortunately, we got the high winds, but we were able to evacuate the stands and the field just as the drizzle began. I was parked up in the Hillman parking lot with my wife and my daughter, who's looking at me, and they're both telling me I'm not speaking loud enough. Is this better? Okay. Anyway, we started up the hill. We were lightly damp by the time we got to Curry Gym. We started climbing the steps to the parking lot above, and Julie's umbrella ended up kind of wrapped around her body. Charlotte and I were entirely drenched, along with pretty much everybody else. It was one of those kind of freakish things that happened that quickly, and it almost ended as quickly. That storm was intense enough to leave many wondering if all would still be standing when the skies cleared. And SSA still stood. That weather system not only brought us our first signs of autumn to the air, but less than 24 hours later it brought Bart and Danica back. So as I said, homecoming week took on a new meaning with our community's first chance to meet and welcome the Griffiths. And it also provided me with more than one occasion to reflect on how this institution that nearly became my home, and Rob's and John's and the search committees for the month of September, has stood for me throughout the years. And John, as I warned you, this is probably the last time you're going to want to leave me in front of a hot mic. So I just want to share a little bit of kind of my story and my connections to this institution that I love dearly. I'm a lifer. My mother, Sarah, is here, and my late father, Ed. Thank you, Mom. And my late father, Ed McDaniel, were both children of big families in Texas and Tennessee. But they somehow found their way north to Pittsburgh via west in California. Here, in the late 60s, they ironically found themselves moving south of Penn Avenue and into a house just west of the historic Frick Estate in Point Breeze. They trailblazed the path for me and my three sisters. My sister Lindsay is here too. And they integrated a lovely neighborhood that was within walking distance, as it turned out, of the childhood home of a fellow Shady Side alum I'd learned later, who's also eminently more distinguished as a graduate than I am, for sure. And that individual is David McCullough. And if I took a walk a few blocks in the other direction, there stood the junior school, where a nervous little kid wearing an afro and a smaller blue blazer that my dad made me wear for the first day of school was welcomed to kindergarten by teacher Betty Highlands and fellow classmates Larry Walsh, Rob Jameson, and Josh Kamen. The first friends I can recall playing with and are all still part of my life to this day. It's there that I learned to do what is right and began to learn about what it means to be respectful, why civility is important, and what makes good leaders. It was a wonderful time. Moving on, between my dad and the middle school, I was fully prepared for the senior school. And between my dad and the middle school, my plebe year at the Naval Academy was not nearly as hard as it was for my fellow midshipmen. The senior school brought new friends with names like Alice and Debbie, Claudia, and Tori. And I continued to forge friendships and connections with students and faculty as I acquired valuable tools that still serve me faithfully today. It's truly hard to believe that it was only a few years ago that I participated in the early planning of this building I think in my first year as on the board of trustees. And here it stands. It's honoring our past and serves as a catalyst towards so many futures. So if you haven't gotten a tour yet, you've got to do it. This is an amazing space. I'll just go off script maybe one or two times. One of them is that I got to sit in on one of Charlotte's classes, a chemistry class with Mr. Rossi, who was here when I was here. And he literally got choked up describing how exciting it was for him, being a teacher here for more than 30 years, being able himself to be reinvigorated by this space, being able to move students from a classroom setting at their desks, and when there was a question or a problem, literally rolling the desks over to a workbench where they could experiment. It's just a wonderful, wonderful gift that I think that many, if not all of you, have contributed to. So thank you for that. I'm a very proud alum and an even prouder parent who, along with the brains and the beauty of the McDaniel Getz collaboration, and fellow alum Noah and future lifer Charlotte thrive on these campuses. And thank you especially to Julie for the support and for allowing me to spend as much time as I have on this campus, especially over the last few weeks. So, that storm last week, while disruptive, passed. Despite its violent intensity, Shady Side structures, both old and newest, withstood it. But we as alums and its other stewards that love the institution stand as well, faithfully. Until this morning, this is where I thought I would end my remarks and would release the grip on the mic. But again, blame John for me going just a moment longer. I also am chair of the schools and the board's Community Life Committee, and we had our first meeting this morning, bright and early. And I had made the comment that because it's been very busy for all of us, that I thought we could just kind of slide in to the year. That lasted about 2 minutes. And as we started our vigorous discussion about things that are very important to the community, for those of you who don't know, the committee, like finance, like development, like buildings and grounds, all have the same status. The one thing that's different about our group is that it is dealing in the soft stuff. You know, we are tasked primarily with ensuring the livelihood of our future alums and making sure that our community is strong and our connections to the community outside Shady Side is strong as well. And we jumped right into a number of topics that are very relevant. And the good news is that Shady Side continues to do the things that we have always expected of it. But it was a very vigorous discussion. And a lot of it had to do with the times that we live in. In fact, the lack of civility, the lack of respect that we have seen in the last few years, and the importance of leadership, and our important task of making sure that we are creating civil, respectful leaders here at Shady Side. And one of our committee members, who has been connected to the Academy for several decades, drew a parallel to the current day, to the national discourse and challenges, to what our nation went through in the 60s and 70s when I was an Afro young kindergartner through fifth grader at the junior school. And I was, like most of my classmates, blissfully unaware of many of the changes that were happening at that time and on our own campus. Some of the distinguished alums from that period are here this weekend, and I particularly thank the class of 1968 that were forged in that crucible. Their predecessors ensured that the Academy stood faithful then, and I believe that we are all contributing, evolving, and innovating to help us remain standing today. So I challenge all of us to utilize the tools of civility, respect, and leadership that we began to hone here to not only ensure that Shady Side continues to weather storms, but we help all the communities we love and serve do the same, always, in all ways. So again, thank you to my biological family, my Shady Side family, and glory to Shady Side. Thank you.
If you're an accountant, you never want to follow a lawyer. So thank you very much, Jeff. I apologize, but and I wanted to echo John Kamen's sentiments and around the incredible good fortune we've had to have Amy Nixon here to lead us this year. It's been an incredible opportunity to work with her, and we're all, as a community, very lucky to have her. I also wanted to congratulate Jeff as a co-recipient. And I want to say thank you to all the faculty, staff, and administration who really do the heavy lifting. We're up here getting awards, but the people who are making differences in the lives of the students who are going to go on to be our future alumni are really doing the important work. And so I want to say thank you to them. And while I'm up here, I want to say thank you to my father and my late mother for sending me to Shady Side. The place has been incredibly important to me. It's been an honor to receive the Robert Walker Award, and I've been very fortunate to be a part of this community now for 27 years. It's my 25th reunion, so I was only here for 2 years, but in that 2 years, I really had a transformational experience that has really impacted my life positively since the day I stepped on campus and does every day. I think about Shady Side almost every day. And as I stand here today, I know that it was the most important formative experience of my life. And it was hard to understand that at the time that I was a student. Well, as a student, you know, you're going through the pressures of college admissions and the coming paper and the next exam. I couldn't understand that John Landreth wasn't really teaching me about swimming or coaching me. He was teaching me about how to set a goal, how to sacrifice to achieve that goal, how the pursuit of that goal is more rich when shared with your teammates. I didn't understand that my American history teacher, Justin Solomon, wasn't punishing me for making me rewrite all of my papers, but rather he was sort of helping me understand the importance of clearly articulating my point of view while also taking into consideration the other side, the other point of view. And I definitely couldn't understand that a simple walk around the quad with Dr. Sotolo was going to be the most intimidating, demanding interview I've ever had. That prepared me for every interview I had thereafter. And, you know, there are more and more examples of this that I could go through. But at the core of each one of these examples is a teacher. And it's with the teachers in mind that I've tried to give back to Shady Side Academy. Without them, our experiences and the future experiences wouldn't matter. And with the work of our administration, faculty, and staff, and the continued support of our community, and our community matters, and the philanthropic realities should be considered broadly. Your time is incredibly valuable. A relationship, an internship, an introduction, a kind word. This is all part of should be part of our philanthropic mission. And as we stand here in a building that was part of the kind of treasure side of philanthropy, I hope we sit back and think about our community more broadly, philanthropically, and that you and us as alumni continue to be engaged with our students. Because we hear firsthand as those in the community living in Pittsburgh how beneficial it is. And I know that with that in mind, that Shady Side Academy is positioned to prosper in the years ahead, and on the back of sort of the firm foundation that you all have set, that we're going to have many, many great years to come. And I thank you all for coming back for this Alumni Weekend, and have a great time. Thank you very much.